I'm at this moment in time, so close to what I thought was going to be my dream job. And I'm told, you're not what we're looking for. I had no idea that that moment in time was going to be the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself so close to where you want to be to really learn that you're not supposed to be there at all? I grew up in this small town in Northern California, and I started as a police explorer and rose through the ranks in that city. I started out as a volunteer when I was a young teenager. Well, I actually got pulled over by the police and talked my way out of a ticket and told them I thought it would be really cool to be a police officer. I had no idea in that moment in time that I'd become a police officer at the age of 21. I'd do almost every assignment in that department. I'd move up to second in command, and at this point in my career, I had 6 years as second in command of the department. At one point, after I gave so much to this department, my dream was to be the police chief where I grew up in. But that came to an end one morning, or actually one evening, on a phone call. The phone rang around 9:15 at night. And I was at home sitting in front of the computer. I wasn't really expecting that call, but it was the recruiter for my dream job. I was expecting him to tell me, you got the job. He told me I did very well in the process. I was super excited. But he said, you won't be moving forward in the position. I didn't understand. He told me I wasn't a fit. I asked for him to explain to me, what do you mean I'm not a fit? I've done everything. He just repeated, you're not a fit at this time, and I hung up the phone. So my son, who was 8 years old at the time, came running out of the bedroom and said, Mom, who's that? And I said, I just got the call. And he goes, you got the job? And I said, no, I didn't get the job. And he said, that's okay. You're going to get the next job. And so he then told me, and he proceeded to tell me a story. So he was in elementary school, and he said, Mom, when I started at the school, I said, really? I have an 8-year-old that's giving me a life lesson, and I'm trying to be a police chief. And he said, no, Mom, I tried to be on the yearbook committee, but I was too young, and I was new to the school. And I'm going to go back, and I'm going to try again, and I've tried twice, and they didn't pick me. But that doesn't mean because I'm bad or I wasn't good. It was just not my turn. So he proceeded to tell me that he's going to try and try again. And but before he leaves that school, he's going to get on that yearbook committee. Again, I'm sitting there thinking, are you really teaching me a life lesson about professional disappointment and going back? Yes. And it was very hard to realize professional disappointment, but it really helped me grow as a person. So now I'm proud to be the 18th female police chief appointed in the history of the state of California. There's 334 municipal agencies in California, and I serve as police chief now in 3 cities. And now I'm serving in a world-renowned city. Looking back on my 28-year career, I think about what got me here, what pushed me through that glass ceiling. And when I think about it, it's one thing, it's courageousness has pushed me through. When I didn't get that first executive job, it was a blessing in disguise, but I didn't really realize it at the moment in time that everything happens for a reason. I had to figure out my plan for my future because the plan I had apparently wasn't the plan that that city had. So I had to figure it out. I lifted myself up, and I really identified my fears, and really not knowing what the future was going to hold. I was completely disappointed professionally, but it was that internal courage inside me that kept me going and motivated. And I thought about what motivates me, and it's that courage that drives me to push me forward in understanding my fears. The more courageous you are, the more it really becomes you. And I learned a lot about myself in the process. And really there's a correlation between the fears inside us and courageousness. And I really had to understand that to be a police chief. I believe that having an understanding of your fears pushes you to be more courageous. And I've really navigated now, working through 4 cities, and I think about the courage that it took to leave my comfort zone. I'm hundreds of miles away from where I grew up, and that's because I had the courage to leave. So my journey began as I left my comfort zone. I began to understand my internal professional fears, but the more I became prepared, the easier it was for me to leave my comfort zone. You're probably looking at me in uniform with a gun and a badge. A lot of people in the back thought I was going to arrest them for some reason or another. So you're looking at me thinking, but of course you're courageous and you're brave. That's what our police officers are. But I can tell you that I was not born that way. The reality is I'm probably like many of you, which I can't see right now. But I'm a mom, which is a very hard job. I'm a boss, I'm a friend, I'm a sister, and I learned how to be courageous. Courageousness helped me navigate that glass ceiling that we've all heard about. The artificial barrier that keeps many of us from reaching our full potential as women. I've hit that glass ceiling several times, but I had the courage to find my way to work around that. But this isn't about how many times you hit the glass ceiling. It's how you navigate around it, and that's what I want to talk about. So I've gone through testing processes. And one of the next processes that I went through, and I've heard a variety of different things through my testing processes, which is so interesting, is I started testing and I learned it's going to be hard. I had questions like, how old are you? You don't look like your resume. I'm not sure what my resume has to do with what I look like. And one of the best stories is when we were looking for a police chief, I was thinking of somebody who's 6'3", walks in a room and commands the room. And I don't know how to respond to that, because when I do walk in the room, I command a room. So I took a test, several cities, several counties away, and the phone call came. Now, I have to tell you, my fears inside of me, I was thinking, I should call them and tell them I don't want the job before they tell me they don't want me. And I thought, no, that would be cowardly. So I got the call that we want you to be our chief, and I was so excited. And I said, yes, I'm there. And I soon learned about being a police chief and leaving your comfort zone was growing. Being a police chief where I didn't grow up was a leadership advantage, and I had no idea. And although mechanically police departments run the same, being an outsider gives you this fresh perspective into how an organization is run. It really helps you bring an organization to the next level. So I'm going to tell you this funny story that I was walking in the hall in one of my agencies that I was a police chief at. Of course, stepping over boxes that have been there for years that no one's moved because no one sees them. And then I saw a police officer that I just hired walking down the hall, carrying all his new equipment in an evidence bag, a paper evidence bag. And I'm thinking, why do we do that? Why are we issuing brand new officers their equipment in an evidence bag? The sergeant told me it's how we've always done it. And I learned that how we've always done it, being from the outside, is a professional advantage. I learned that being courageous is a lot of work, and I have some advice to give you about being courageous. It's really helped me. And the first piece of advice that has helped me along the way is have a good plan. Set goals. If you don't have a plan, how do you expect to achieve one? Your plan is going to set a good foundation. So I took up running because I had nothing else to do, and I wanted to add it to my resume. So about 15 years ago, I took up running. And as a runner, it's common to get better with time. And over years, you can refine your technique. So I want to tell you about my plan to run a marathon. It was a horrible plan. I'm going to run a marathon, and I'm going to train on a treadmill. This is the worst plan ever. Over 5 hours, I was just tired. So I'm going to have a better plan now, the second marathon. So my second marathon came. I had a better plan because I worked out my legs. Worked out my legs a lot on the machines. I beat my time by just 20 minutes. So my third marathon, I said, I got to have a good plan. And the good plan is actually running in the street, actually training your body, meeting with a trainer and telling you how to prepare for that marathon. And I did my best time ever at 4:02. It was amazing. Thank you. Number 2, have the confidence and drive to sit at the table. And when there's no room at the table, make room at the table. I remember my first meeting. I was a commander. I was brand new, and I stepped into the room. I was so excited. It was the first county commanders meeting. I thought everyone's going to be thrilled that I'm one of the first captains in the county. That's a female. They weren't so thrilled. I walked into the room. There's a circle of about 45 people at a table, and there was no room. There was an audience. So I thought to myself, it would be easy to sit on the side, but I'm going to sit at the table. I was so nervous. I walked into the room. I grabbed a chair and sat at the table. And it really wasn't that big of a deal, but it felt like a huge deal to sit at that table. The third thing that's helped me immensely in my career is making connections. Making connections, having mentors and being a mentor to others, and surrounding yourself with people that you care about. Remember that first job that I didn't get? My mentor got that job. My mentor that helped me along the way got that job. I worked with him for 2 years, and he helped me get the next job as police chief. It was meant to be. And the last bit of advice is set yourself apart. Do one thing better than everyone else that you're sitting at the table with. Training, education, experience. So although my path hasn't always stayed on track, I truly, truly believe that everything happens for a reason. And in the moment, it's really hard to understand why something's happening. And it's so easy to get discouraged and quit. I've wanted to quit so many times. And I think about my 8-year-old in my ear, Mom, just go back, go back. But I've also learned you can turn negatives into positives. The good, the bad, the disappointments, and the achievements are all part of learning. And so I know my failures and my fears, they just don't define me. They've made me better. In fact, I am where I'm at today because someone, somewhere, passed me over for a job. So think about that. I am the chief of Beverly Hills Police Department because someone else passed me over. I'm going to leave you with one thing that courageous women do, and I do this every day. Courageous women, we dream big. Your dreams of where you want to be and what you want to do are limited to your imagination. If you can dream it, I know it can become a reality. I have one of the best jobs in my profession, and it happens to be my dream job. Now go out and get yours.